So mental health, obviously it got heated in moments. It was pretty tame in moments. It was heart-wrenching in moments. You, though, I have to say, you have some stands out there in Bachelor Nation, because we saw somebody show up in a cat costume for mental health for you.
That was so good.
That was
awesome.
great. I always love when people show up with their posters or their costumes. Like, it just shows you how invested people are in the show and in you as an individual, which I think is great. How did you feel sitting up there in your hot seat? Was that something that you were prepared for? Was it weird having to kind of like rewatch and relive those moments back? Did it like stir up all of those old emotions for you?
Yeah, well, that was the first time I'd seen the breakup, was sitting right there. So I mean, obviously I lived through it. But it definitely stirred up a lot of emotions to sit and watch that. And it also brings up new emotions because you get new insight and new perspective, right? Like seeing Katie's interviews and how heartbroken she was, and then seeing my interviews, because it all happened so fast. I don't even quite remember what I said and that sort of thing. And so it definitely brings back a lot of those emotions. There's a lot.
Do you feel like you got the closure that you needed? I know that you obviously think the world of Katie, and you kind of said earlier that you don't think that you could have done anything to change the outcome, but do you think that you got enough closure in that goodbye? And did you have any other questions for her when you were there? What was that like?
Yeah, I felt really lucky to get like an actual breakup, because I feel like a lot of people just go home at a rose ceremony.
Yeah.
And you get your 10 seconds to say something to her, and then you have to leave and you don't see her again for who knows how long. And so I got to really, and you guys only got to see a small portion of it, but we were there for 10, 15 minutes and really got to have a full conversation. And I felt like I got the answers and the closure I needed in that moment. Like we got to hold each other, we got to cry, and I asked my questions and she was just completely honest. And so I didn't walk out of there with any like lingering questions. There were obviously, it's after a breakup, you want to be like, oh, what could I have done different? Yeah. But again, like I said earlier, like I don't think there was anything like that. So it was like the most beautiful breakup I'd ever been a part of in a weird way. And just because a lot of times in a breakup, you walk away with a lot of, there's maybe anger or resentment or anything like that. And there was just none of that here. I just felt very lucky to have been here, lucky to have known Katie, and lucky to have had the time I had with her.
It's really hard watching yourself like on television and then relive all those emotions. And I commend you just because it's different when someone is completely vulnerable and is themselves and like really tries to lean into something, and you can walk away happy and proud of yourself as opposed to like wishing you did something different or seeing your growth on television. And I don't know, I thought that you grew a lot since night one. So that was really cool to watch.
I want to play off of that question because I think this show is such everyone, sorry, excuse me. I don't have COVID.
Cough it out.
I think everyone that leaves the show has some sort of major moments and takeaways or things that they've learned about themselves. It's such a weird position to be in to begin with, but it lends itself to so much just internal growth, I think, and just like learning new things about yourself that you maybe didn't know. So overall, going through the entire season, and not only a romantic relationship, but what were some things that you learned about yourself while on Katie's season?
I love this question because that was one of my favorite parts. Was I grew so much from this, and you're right. I grew in romantic ways, but also just in ways and things that I learned about myself. I think one of the biggest things I learned is just kind of like my love language I figured out through this is maybe words of affirmation. And I love how Katie, and even watching back and how she was with the other guys, how she can find beautiful things about everyone. And she's not afraid to tell them those things. And that to me was just incredible. And that was one of the things that I loved most about her, was just that she saw my insecurity and she said, hey, you are an amazing person. You deserve to be here. Here are the things that are beautiful about you. And that was so incredible to me. And I just loved that. And I won't settle for less than that now. So that was one of the biggest things I learned.